Hi there, my name is Kay Moon, and I'm a Western astrologer and Twin Flame channel, and this is a video about the Virgo New Moon taking place on October 23rd at 2:06 a.m. if you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States. Please check a time zone converter for your local time. This update will be the update for the Lightworker and Twin Flame Collective. Here's our new moon there in Virgo. As a quick recap, it has aspects to Uranus. It has a uh, aspect as well to Pholus and Haumea, as well as Juno and Vesta. Put all together, this new moon is speaking to changes in communication, unexpected communication, and perhaps a few things that are very activating. We also have a trine, I forgot to mention, to Chiron and Eris up there in Aries. There's some energy here that's going to be very activating to anyone with attachment style issues, whether you're, you know, dismissive, fearful avoidant, or anxiously attached. This new moon is going to try you. I spoke at length about a lot of this in the Lightworker Lunar Update and what to expect and ways to navigate it. I definitely recommend having a listen to that and then coming back to this, especially if you identify in predominantly divine feminine energy, as Juno has a loose square to this particular new moon. I'm excited about this new moon because it really, for me, marks the end of the Lionsgate period. And we're 30 days out from the next new moon, which is the Virgo new moon solar eclipse. Many of us are already feeling the intensity of eclipse season. If you go 90 days back, well, 60 days back at this point, so June 7th, 21st-ish. That's when we would have been at the 90-day mark for the two eclipses coming. July, now we're August, we're 30 days out from these eclipses. And I feel like these eclipses are going to be very life-changing for all of us collectively in some key ways pertaining to our day-to-day habits, our dream space, our psychic space, but also decisions. I feel like there are many making some really key decisions in their life at this time based on what I'm seeing from my clients and in my own life that have the ability to really transform what our tomorrows look like. So if you need any support navigating that, now is a great time to book a reading. The reading calendar is open, and there's just a couple sessions left next week in the month of August. And once August sells out, the first time new client 30% off goes away. So if you're new to me and you've been wanting to just give it a whirl, you're curious, I definitely recommend grabbing one of those sessions because once next week is sold out, it goes back to regular price. So there's also a community that's getting ready to open up. It is astrology focused. It's not twin flame focused at all. So if you want a deeper way to just, talk about astrology, some ways to utilize this energy productively, to start to look at, what decisions can you make in your life? How can you work with this energy? We'll do challenges, journal prompts, ritual together. Then get ready to join the revamped Star Club community that'll be coming in the next week. I'm really looking forward to inviting you all to join for that. Okay. We have Juno here. Let's start with the divine feminine energy. There she is in Scorpio at 20 degrees. And she's on a growth track for real, for real. She is conjunct Vesta and Lilith to her left and to her right. She's rolling with her girls. And there is a lot of energy here of cementing growth that unfolded during the Juno retrograde. And so during that Juno retrograde season, we had Juno coming into maybe some depth psychology, deeper awareness and understanding about who she is and what she needs in partnership and what she's done with, what she's not going to do anymore. And with Juno now coming out of the retrograde shadow, she doesn't fully get out of it until October 5th. But with Juno coming out of the retrograde shadow, there's a lot of recognition of truth that's starting to unfold for her, who she is in partnership, what she needs in partnership, what she doesn't need in partnership, how she wants partnership to look for her, and what she doesn't want partnership to look like anymore. Vesta is bringing a lot of dedication to that truth and that wisdom. Lilith is bringing a lot of uncompromising energy to those truths and that wisdom. And together they're running toward Sagittarius, the sign of truth, and facilitating for Juno a self-resurrection, a phoenix energy, if you will. It's allowing those who run significantly divine feminine energetics through their system instead of like balanced energetics, masculine and feminine. You've got more feminine dominant energetics. This will be a time of a lot of accepting maybe some harder truths, but necessary truths. Now, one of the things that happened at the start of the Juno retrograde, I think it was back in January, is we had Juno in opposition to Venus here. She's now come back into range with the Uranian opposition. So if there were any surprise events that took place in the January, February timeframe, unexpected events, things that are like, oh, did not see that coming. Uh, those things may reverse themselves in present time as we get closer and closer to Juno hitting the early degrees of Sagittarius. Those things that happened back then may undo themselves or get worked out, especially if there were difficult communications in connection. Those communications have the potential between now and mid-October to start to come to some sort of clarity or resolution. Now, I want to be clear. I don't necessarily see this process being smooth. With the opposition energy, the surprises, the unexpected in partnership, it's a little like, I thought we might land in a different place than here. Now, those of you with tools that we taught you in the Union Workshop, Part 1, Part 2, or 3PE, you can utilize those tools to really navigate this in a way that brings peace and harmony and light to everyone involved, especially because Uranus is in the sign of vocal communication. Juno is running toward the sign of written communication. You already know what you need to do. But for the rest, I would say this is one of those moments in time where you want to mentally prepare yourself for some revelations that maybe you weren't expecting, and get yourself to a place where you're just clear. Like, I know what I want, I know who I am, I know where I'm going, and ground yourself in that certainty with Lilith and Vesta flanking Juno. Now, that's just for those of you who are running high DF energy, like meaning when I speak to what's going on for the divine masculine energy at each of these lunar updates, you check out, it doesn't resonate, you can find none of it in your life stream. If that's the case, you all really only resonate with what I'm saying about the Juno components, then you're probably running more divine feminine energy in your life stream at present. There's nothing wrong with that. We all go through periods where sometimes we're more DF then DM, or DM, then DF, whatever, balance back and forth, for light work and leadership purposes. No judgment, right? However, because there is this energy that's very unique to the Divine Feminine's journey in present time, I wanted to make sure to speak to that for those of you who are in more of that place of exclusivity. Okay. Now, expect some surprises in love and communications between now and November 1st. For the rest of you, there can be some trysts that come out of nowhere and may surprise you, and there could be some triangulation. And I'm going to be honest, it looks like it's more on the divine feminine energy side than the divine masculine energy side, because Uranus is not talking to him, Uranus is talking to her. What I will say about that is that the triangulation energy here may see some who identify in divine feminine dominant energy opening themselves up to other options while still being connected to the counterpart. Also, with this energy, with Uranus in the sign of Gemini, which in shadow deals with gossip, rumors, and secrets can come out unexpectedly. So just be mindful of that if you know you're in a delicate situation and it would serve you for multiple reasons to be the one to relay a truth. Now would be a really great time to get truthful because it does look like Uranus is on an exposure path with divine feminine energy between now and November 1st. I would, even if it's unexpected, even if it might sting or hurt, even if it's challenging to get the words out, I would find a way to say what needs to be said at this Virgo new moon, because sometimes the truth is better coming from you than it's like 10 times worse if somebody needs to find out through someone who's not you or in another way. So, you know, if that's you, again, judgment-free zone, but the advocacy I have for you is find ways to be in connection that are truthful for who you are and where you are and what you want with the people you're connected to. Because that is the way that union can happen, whether it's union with self, union with the divine, union with a counterpart, union with mission, etc., etc., etc. Okay. So, um, there can be conversations that go in some unpredictable directions here, some abrupt conversations that can happen here, some abrupt communications that can happen here as well, because we have Mercury and Leo squaring her. And like I said, a lot of this energy of the restlessness, the unsettledness, normally we see this sort of showing up. Let me say that differently. In the world of twin flame lore, canonically, we want to put this down to divine masculine antics and shenanigans. However, I we are seeing the option here for that to show itself in divine feminine energetic space. And so, utilize what you know, utilize your growth to move through this in a way that's honoring of yourself and your connection. Again, those of you who have tools because you did the union workshop with myself and Romania, this would be a really great time to utilize them so you can direct this energy instead of waiting for it to hit you. Okay. That Mercury square to Juno can cause not only challenges in communication and difficulty getting in the same page, it can also require some deeper conversation that takes time to resolve challenges that show up in connection in this time. And this is whether you identify in some format of union or some format of separation. It may be more than one conversation. With Mercury and Leo, some pride and some ego can definitely be involved here, and a new moon in Virgo for sure some self-righteousness and shadow energy can kind of show up. So I just want to mentally prepare you for that. Both people can have some strong feelings, maybe even express themselves quite forcefully. Um, and this can be a moment where you discover you and your counterpart have some very different values. It's a really, really good time for listening more than sharing if you're the one prepared with this information. I actually had two conversations today with clients who, bless, but I had to tell them both, like, gentlemen, please take up more space with these women. Like, talk to them, be transparent with them. They need to hear it. Do not hide in your relationships. Like, I know you want to make space for them, and that's a beautiful thing, but you also need to make space for you. And so, male, female, it doesn't really matter. This divine feminine energy is really going to serve those of you who recognize that in your relationships, you do need to take up a little bit more space. You do need to be more transparent and self-honoring. This energy is going to be best utilized by you and being in the place to say, hey, I have needs. I feel this way, or I want that, or if I had it all my way, this is how it would go, that sort of thing. Okay. So, those of you who are normally already doing that, it's a great time for you to sit back and listen. Those of you who never really do that, it's a great time for you to step up and use this energy to deliver some much needed language, some communications. Um, it does, I'm gonna be honest, it looks like it's a little uncomfortable, especially if words come out sideways or forcefully, but know that this is a starting point, not an end point for communication, especially if you're not used to delivering these kinds of communications. Utilizing this as a starting point, like, okay, I know that maybe came out sideways, but I want to talk through it with you. That's a great way to utilize this energy. Okay. We also see a square to Juno from Chariklo there in Aquarius. Chariklo is retrograde. And this really brings about a turning down the volume of intercessory energy from guides, where you are getting the opportunity to really stand on your own 2 feet with what you know and what you've learned, especially where groups of people and friendships are concerned, where you've sown goodwill with people. You'll find that that goodwill is reflected back to you with groups and people. Where you haven't sown goodwill with people, you're also going to find that there's maybe a little less grace for you at this time. And so heed the mirrors accordingly. There's something to learn here. If you weren't able to sow goodwill and it's starting to show, like you get released from a job or something like that, um, and nobody gets fired for not sowing goodwill, but this sort of thing, like, get kicked out of a friend group or whatever, right? Know that for some of this, this is about coming out of, again, relationships where there may have been some codependency. I spoke about that at length in the Lightworker Lunar Update, releasing some of those, but also recognizing maybe some of my needs weren't getting met. Maybe that's why I wasn't able to show up as my best self. Maybe I need to show up earlier, acknowledging my own needs so that other people can make room for me and connect with me properly, and I can bring my best self to the table. So there's growth here. Like I said, the divine feminine energy is really on a steep learning and integration curve at this point. Um, so keep that in mind. And I will also say that she is still trying Jupiter there. And I'm going to talk about what this means in terms of union energy in a moment, but just in terms of a divine feminine journey itself, there's a lot of expansion for the divine feminine with Jupiter, who operates as the expander, um, influencing her in this way. This is like Phoenix rising energy in the divine feminine energetic field. And you may be the one using the energy in the connection if you're in separation, like starting to rise, starting to come into your own in present time if you're in separation. Um, both of your divine feminine energy fields coming into a place of self-ownership, self-possession, self-empowerment. Where she sits is the sign of personal power. So keep that in mind. Now, where it comes to counterparts who don't identify in separation, you identify in some format of union. There is union window energy here. So, for those of you that are new, welcome. What union windows are these periods of time where Juno, divine feminine, and Jupiter, divine masculine, are astrologically in harmony with one another. And what that does is it creates magnetic tension, like pull toward the connection for both counterparts. What unfolds when that pull happens is highly dependent upon the blocks both people have to love. Do you have communication blocks? Do you have consciousness blocks? Or so is your childhood in the way? Do you have attachment style issues to work through? Do you have painful memories of the past, like exes to forgive? These sorts of things. Because as you get yanked toward the connection, you will run into the wall of your own blocks so that brick by brick you can take them down. Brick by brick, you can disarm yourself and undefend yourself to love. So, with that in mind, you may be experiencing this passage of Jupiter and Juno in trine in that way, where there is this energy of both people, like you really feeling psychically connected, empathically connected, especially with both of them in water signs. There may be this sense of feeling very pulled toward one another and literally feeling each other in space and time, despite not even being in the same location. That may be unfolding at this moment in a way that is calling you toward your own union and inviting you, hey, you got this block where you don't like to be vulnerable when you most need to be. Deal with it. Hey, you got that block where you don't like to tell the truth because you're afraid people are gonna run. Deal with it. These sorts of things can begin to show up in a union window. So they're not guarantees that people are going to come into union, but they are guarantees that you're going to feel the pull of your connection. Okay. Now, for those of you who are not in any format of separation at all, like there's communication going on, things are smooth between the two of you, maybe you guys even already live together, maybe you're married. This is where things go to the next level, marriage energy, proposal energy, moving in together energy, lots of feelings pouring out, deep, intense, undeniable emotions coming to the surface, these sorts of things, recognition of like where wounds are and recognition of like, okay, let's work on this together. This sort of thing can show itself here. Okay. In this union window for those of you who are moving towards some sort of 3D union in present time. Now, again, if you're new here, I just want to say union windows come and go. There are all these mini ones that happen over the course of the year as Juno moves in and out of harmony with Jupiter. We get sextiles to Jupiter. He moves slower. This is why I'm basing it on her movement. She moves much faster. um, Sextiles, trines, and then we get these moments of tension, which can facilitate opportunities for separation and growth and more challenging conversation that like iron sharpens iron, and the two of you grow together. So this is a beautiful opportunity to take a look at what stands in between me and fully letting my guard down so that love can come in. Like me, what stands in between me and love, and how do I get it out of the way? Okay. So good stuff there. Since we're talking about Jupiter, let's get into the divine masculine's journey at this Virgo new moon. This energy of him at the 16th degree of Cancer is calibrating life to the big feelings that Jupiter's transit through Cancer can create. So Jupiter entered Cancer some couple months ago, back in July, and to the June-July timeframe. And once coming into Cancer, it flooded the divine masculine energetic fields with a lot of sensitivity to personal emotionality. Now, if you have been the type of person who runs divine masculine dominant energy, normally you are more rational, pragmatic, logical. You may have, during the time of Jupiter in Gemini, which was June to June 2024 to 2025, been in a place of more curiosity, more exploratoriness, more mental energy. As Jupiter has settled into Cancer, you may have felt the emotional floodgates open. Lots of stuff coming up with family, family of origin, family you want to start, and dealing with issues with family, unresolved stuff with family, showing up as Jupiter has moved into the sign that governs families, issues with mom. Jupiter's in the sign that deals with mothers and motherhood. So whether it's your own mother, female authority figures, or the mother of your children. If you are a mother of children, Jupiter in Cancer is going to cause you to need to, or I should say, invite you to bring many of these relationships into right relationship with your own selfhood and identity. So, with this, at this particular new moon, we see Mars square Jupiter. And this is bringing in a lot of go time energy. Whenever Mars and Jupiter in that aspect of tension, it lights a bit of a fire under us to make things happen, to move, to act. And this is definitely one of those moments, especially with Mars in Libra. Libra is our sign of relationships. It's going to activate change, growth, taking action in relationships and partnerships and collaborations. Now, I think some of you don't misread me, right? Your person may be very quiet with you, but going to therapy to deal with their issues in love. You may be very quiet with your person, but resolving your financial mess so that you have a clean slate to build a structured life with a counterpart, okay? So just because you're not necessarily having interactions in the third dimension with your person doesn't mean they're not taking actions that support the connection or facilitate change in the connection, okay? So I want to expand your consciousness a little in the way you consider this, because you may not see it, but I definitely see that there's action happening here that facilitates moving the connection forward in the divine masculine energy fields. And it's really based on some of the lessons and the growth with Makemake, the shaman's asteroid, sitting conjunct Mars in the sign of partnership, speaking in square to this Jupiter. And I am also seeing collectively, and I've spoken to many clients today with doing this exact thing, where as divine masculine energy moves through the sign of families and then speaks to Mars in the sign of partnership, there's this detangling, unraveling um, of family dynamics from love life in multiple different ways, right? Like one person comes from a big family that they financially support, the other person doesn't have those sort of family ties, and detangling oneself from adults who can support themselves so that I can be in relationship over here with you. I've got childhood issues that have caused me to, drink or do have escapist tendencies. Detangling my childhood issues from my relationship space. Or I have, you know, grew up in a dysfunctional marriage. It wasn't a dysfunctional divorce, it was a dysfunctional marriage. And my relationship space has become the workshop for figuring out and fixing my parents' marital issues. I've taken them on, I've embodied them, I'm now repeating them, and I'm trying to resolve their issues in my relationship space, this sort of thing. I'm seeing a lot of clients do this work in present time with Jupiter transit through Cancer, where they are putting family dynamics in the right place and love dynamics in the right place so that the two are not influencing one another negatively. So, challenging as that may be with a Martian square, squares do tend to be challenging. Nevertheless, they are quite motivating to assisting us with getting on with it. And that's a lot of what I'm seeing here at this new moon in the divine masculine energy space. Um, we also see Jupiter opposite Pholus, and I've spoken about this at length in previous lunar updates. It's a dissipating opposition now, but it's still there where, where there's just been relationships of codependency and, heroship and saviorship of other people, really starting to unplug from some of that mentality and just letting people have their process in their life. So that both in family where Jupiter sits, but also at work where Pholus sits, coming out of those patternings of, needing to be the hero and instead just not seeing people as victims so much, recognizing that people can make their own choices. And they can also work through their own choices, right? The consequences of them. They're strong enough to work through them. Okay. We also see a trine from Jupiter to Nessus there in Pisces. There at the top of the chart. There's a release here. Nessus is retrograde. So there's a release of old obsessions. Both the last aspect, Jupiter opposite Pholus, where we're doing a lot of seeking validation by saving other people, releasing that with Pholus retrograde and Nessus retrograde, just releasing obsessions on the whole. This is going to help a lot with the release of clingy exes mixed into your connection with your person, whether you've got an ex that you cling to or they've got an ex that they cling to, where it's done and over. This new moon is going to help it really be done and over. So too will the upcoming full moon. We'll talk about that in a couple of weeks, but this combination in the divine masculine energy fields where there's like hyper reliance on divine masculine activation energy, this is starting to come to a close as there's recognition for some divine masculine energies like, okay, yeah, I did activate a few people and they need to go on about their lives. And likewise, there's recognition in the people around people who run dominantly divine masculine energy. Okay, yeah, this is not my person, and I need to let them go. So that kind of release of obsession energy is unfolding at this time. Okay. Again, those with you with tools, you know what to do to support this. There's a square here to Eris and Chiron. for Jupiter, and I spoke about this at length. This energy gets louder next year, unfortunately. I spoke about this at length in the Lightworker energy update, and I've spoken about it in previous Lightworker energy updates. If you haven't listened to one of those in a while, I really implore you to listen to this one just for the Chiron Eris components, because this is going to assist you with moving yourself forward, moving yourself, like really understanding kind of like energetically what's happening at the collective level, why you may be feeling certain feelings when it comes to frustration or defeat or stagnation, and what you can do about them in present time, especially where it pertains to self and family. Okay. There can be some self-victimization energy in this, I'm gonna be honest, but because both Chiron and Eris are retrograde, it will have more of an opportunity to see where we've allowed that victimization. And it'll be easier to see how we can get ourselves out of participating in that self-victimization. Even if the feelings are very overwhelming, we'll have the opportunity to let go, to release some of that patterning in present time. Again, especially where it has to do with family and identity. Okay. So, really good stuff for both counterparts. Divine Feminine is on a resurrection path. Divine Masculine is on a calibrating to big feelings about my life path, calibrating to new family dynamics path. And this is a really, really good period of time for both counterparts in terms of growth and moving ourselves forward and meeting each other in that future space where best selves can be given to and shared with one another. So, really good stuff. If you heard something that resonates, please like the video, share it with somebody who might need it, subscribe. Drop a comment below. Let us know how you're moving through this. It's not a hard energy, but it's also not necessarily a like skipping through the field with unicorns and rainbows energy either. We're all being taken to task here. And those who are predominantly running exclusive DF or exclusive DM energy are being taken to task the most. So, if you've got any coping strategies you want to share with the community, things that have helped, definitely drop them below. I'm sure people would love to hear it. Thank you all for being here, and I'll see you at the next lunation. Take great care, and bye for now.